This is a Zenith G500 transoceanic. It has a G540 chassis, which means it has miniature tubes, not the larger Lochtel tubes. It was made in circa 1949. It still works, even though it hasn't been recapped or anything. It hums like crazy, but it works just fine. The sound on it is incredible. The weight on it is incredible too, but it's supposed to be a portable radio, but the battery in this thing is huge. So there's that set. Okay, these two radios in the front are very interesting. They're both made about the same time. The one on the left is made slightly newer, maybe by a couple of years, 3 years, newer than the one on the right. The one on the left is a General Electric P805A, I believe, and the one on the right is an RCA Victor B411. One of them is a tube radio. Can you guess which one? If you pick the one on the right, you're right. It's one of the smallest tube radios I've ever seen, but they've got, I believe, 5 miniature tubes in there somehow. And in a minute, I'll tell you what it looks like. But anyways, in the meantime, I did get the one on the left working. So let me turn that on so you can hear it. Sounds pretty good. Yes, that's a local station that plays that stuff still. Okay, I'll put the camera down and I'll show you the one on the right and show you that it really is a tube radio. Amazing. Okay, I have it on its front, so the back is exposed, and I'll lift it up and you can see in there. See all the tubes? It really is a tube radio, my friends. It's one of the smallest I've ever seen. I'd love to get this thing going, but that'll be a later project. Be a fun radio to have. Come up with replica batteries, and it just amazes people when I show them that this really is a tube radio. Here's a picture of the sticker on the back. It's in good shape. I hope you can read this. But you can see the tubes there. Here's a post-war Helicrafters S40A general purpose shortwave radio. It works very nicely now. You wouldn't believe it. I've had it for 20 years and it's been in the garage, and you wouldn't believe how filthy that chassis is now. To get the chassis in this kind of condition was a lot of work. But I did get it, and I tried all different kinds of methods. A lot of them thanks to Admiral TV, and some of his ideas helped pave the way for a chassis that looks as good as it does. I repainted the transformers. Even these metal tubes, they were really bad to paint. So what I did is I just painted the tops and the sides towards the tops, so it preserved the tube numbers on there, because they were fine. But a little further higher than that, that's when the paint was flaking off and everything. So I recoated them. They look like they're brand new. And hold on here, I'll lift this up and I'll show you the underside. Unlike that radio over there, okay, where I restuffed all the capacitors in the original paper tubes to make it look as authentic as that possible, and I restuffed the electrolytics back in their cans. Well, actually, I did that with this one. I did restuff the electrolytic back in its cans, but the other components, you can see, they are all new. All the paper caps have been replaced. All the power resistors have been replaced. There's a couple electrolytics right there that you can see they're modern, and works great. It's one of the first ones I've done. That's why I didn't try to go with the all the trouble of restuffing. I didn't even know about that stuff, so I just replaced it with new stuff. But now that I know how to restuff capacitors so you can use all the original tubes and everything, you can actually keep a radio looking like it was when it came out of the factory, and it's really great. I mean, nobody will ever see it except the next guy who works on it and yourself, but just to know that, you know, it looks just the way it did. It's so much of a better feeling than looking at this and seeing all this modern stuff here. But, you know, electrically, it's the same. So that's that. Anyways, that's the S40A. This is a Detrola 274 from 1938, I believe. I just restored the chassis, cleaned it up, and underneath, I even went as far as replicating the dog bone resistors. See that orange one? And I restuffed all the capacitors. Even that electrolytic is the original tube, but brand new capacitors in there. And as you can see, another hint from B. Anderson TV. So I used this brownish looking plastic glue, you know, they use in glue gun, and it looks like the original wax that was in the original one. So it's a nice way to camouflage it and make everything look new. And so as you can see, I used all the paper caps and restuffed them, and it looks good. It's working. It's got some squealing. I got to look into it. I haven't got my scope out or anything on it. I just recapped it, and so I think I can figure it out. But there's no open IF cans or anything like that, so I don't think it's going to be too hard to figure out. And there's the dial cover, and this is the chassis. I mean the cabinet, and it's got this little, I don't know, it looks like Aztec thing. I don't know if that was original, but I think it looks kind of nice. It needs some work. But anyways, there's another cabinet that I've been talking about that I'll practice on before I do that one, that Philco 38.7 in the end, which is my favorite one. Well, this is an interesting one. I got this from a local person who was selling his radios and TVs. He had over 300 radios and a couple of TVs. This was one of them. Okay, I hope you guessed it was a TV. But that is a little 3-inch, I believe it's 3-inch, electrostatic tube that you'd use in an oscilloscope, except it's covered with a white phosphor instead of a green phosphor. And I believe, according to the schematic, it was made in 1949. Now, it's probably made for 2 or 3 years, so I don't know exactly what year this one is. But it does have a raster, so it has vertical and horizontal. I tried it once because the guy says it works. So I tried it and it did. But after that, I'm not going to turn it on anymore until I make a lot of changes and restore this one electrically, and also make some other modifications to limit the surge current, because I want to protect that tube. That tube is good and it costs a fortune, so I want to keep it as long as I can. Anyways, it was made by the Pilot Radio Company in Long Island. And if you look at the knobs here, they're wrong. What they should look like is little ship's wheels. You know, like the old ships they had, as the sailing ships, they have the big spiked wooden wheel. Well, on the front of those knobs, that's what that should be. It looks good, but it's not right. So I'd love to find a set of knobs for those. I know where I can get a set for a very expensive price, but I know where I can get a set. So if any of you out there know where I can get a set any less, I'll tell you how much. They want like $39, I think, for the complete set. And if you know a source where I can get them for a little bit less, that'd be great. You could just write me a comment. I would really appreciate it. But anyways, the other interesting about this TV, it was also the very first TV. They made it really as low cost as possible. It was the first one for under $100, $99.99. So they had a lot of shortcuts taken out of it. Like, in other words, instead of using a channel chunker tuner, they saved a lot of money by, they have this little, it's like a radio knob. So you just change the channel, and you can also change the band from lower channel numbers to higher numbers. They save a lot of money on that. It has no transformer. It's a series wired circuit, which means it has a hot chassis. Saves a lot of weight, saves a lot of cost because there's no transformer involved. But it's more dangerous to work on, and the quality isn't there. But hey, under $100 back then was cheap. So that's what they're trying to do, make it affordable. So that was the TV37 by Pilot. Here, I'll show you the logo there, Pilot. There we go. Okay, on to another set. Okay, that Pilot TV37 you just saw, remember I said they had two TVs? Well, this was the second one. This is a Admiral 19A11. B. Anderson TV has got like 3 of these things now. So anyways, this one's in really good shape though. The cabinet's in beautiful shape. It has that magnifier on there. I'm pretty well sure that this is not made by Admiral. It's some aftermarket thing. Anyways, I never tried this TV. I'm not going to try this TV, not until I restore it. It also has an electrostatic picture tube. In other words, it's like an oscilloscope. It's got no vertical and horizontal coil on it, deflecting the beam up and down and left and right. Instead, it's got these deflection plates inside the picture tube itself that attracts the beam to go up or down or left and right instead. Just a different way they did it. And I believe the tube is a 7JP4. So that means it's a 7-inch. The P means phosphor, and the 4 means what color phosphor. 4 is a white phosphor for black and white TV. You see a lot of 1s for deflections, and they have green phosphorus. There's other colors too and other numbers, but 1 and 4 is the most common. So this is a 7JP4 tube. And so anyways, I recently got another acquisition with a 7JP4 tube. And I haven't unboxed it yet, and that will probably be my next video.